Yeah.
Carry on. Yeah,
But
sorry
I got
about
what
that.
you were saying. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
you get to that point when you haven't got that passion anymore and that drive. Like some of the drive and the motivation when I was younger came from a negative place. Like
Mm.
I was in an abusive relationship, and when that broke up, and I wanted to prove to the world that I wasn't this useless person, and this gave me a confidence and it gave me an identity. And I got to a happy place in life, if you like, in the last couple of years. That drive and that absolute killer instinct to finish, well, no matter what, um, in that area of my life at least, others it hasn't, um, disappeared. Is it okay to move on from that?
Oh, absolutely. And this is what I was talking about earlier on, where we need to continuously reinvent ourselves. Like,
Mm.
there's no two ways about it. There will come a time when I don't want to run anymore. In fact, when I did the run in Vietnam, I
Yep.
did run the length of Vietnam from the Chinese border right down to the southernmost point, and I did it with another young Vietnamese runner.
Yeah.
And my whole goal at that point in time was for him. He was half my age, and a great looking athlete, a fine young man, and great morals, and wonderful things that should be exploited, so that he's a great example to so many
Yeah.
other young people throughout the world.
I remember that.
And so the two of us decided to do this run together. He for Vietnam, representing Vietnam, Vietnamese Australian, and me, like, being the old teacher basically. And so the two of us started off on this journey, and my goal was that he would finish this journey. He would do really well. He would finish this journey, run the length of his country. Vietnam would have a new hero, and then I would go on to continue to support him and train him and work for him to get him sponsorship to do
Wow.
events and things like that on into the future. But sadly, after 10 days of running, he felt that he couldn't go on any longer, and he stopped. I had a commitment to the government and to the people that we would finish this event, that we would make it happen. So I pushed on.
Yep.
He came good about another week later, but of course, with it
Yeah,
being
it's stuck.
broken for him,
Yep.
he didn't. He realised that he just couldn't do it, and that was that. So that was my moment when I thought that I would be getting out of this business, and I'd almost engineered a beautiful way to get out and somebody else to take over from me, and everything was going to be great, but it didn't work out that way. And philosophically, I just realised, well, it's not time yet, so I need to do more with my life.
Wow.
And so while I can run, and while I still have the drive and the determination for new ventures and new goals, I will do it. But when I reach that point where I don't have the love for it any longer, and not only the love for it, but also the drive, you
Yeah.
have to
It's
actually
huge.
have no fear.
Yep.
And I mean, even no fear of dying, no fear of anything when you
Mm.
do these
You
things. In
do.
order to push yourself to the absolute limits, you
Yep.
have to almost stare fear in the face and be able to push on regardless. And when you do that, you find something within yourself that most people just don't even know exists. But it's only until you're faced with that ultimate challenge and you take it up that you realise how strong human beings really can
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
if they have to be. And we see it in times of war, we see it in times of crisis and medical crisis, and it happens to people all the time. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that, then you're not going to be able to cope with that situation, and you're just going to succumb to the pain or the pressure or the difficulty of the moment, and you're going to give in to it. So so most people lead a pretty relaxed life because they don't need to push
They don't
themselves like
drive.
that, and they don't
Yeah.
want to. I, like you, years ago, I still have this burning desire to prove to myself that I deserve to wake up each morning, and I deserve
Yeah.
a chance at this life, because I really see it as a gift. As you know,
I
Lisa,
do
my
too.
wife, died when she
Yes.
was very young,
Very
but I
young.
had the blessing of two young children
Mm.
that I raised, and then I've just recently remarried,
Yes.
and
Wonderful.
life's good to me. But at the end of the day, I feel so fortunate, and you and I have seen people that are far less fortunate than
Yeah.
ourselves. I've been to refugee camps up in Zatra near the Syria Jordanian border,
Yep.
and I've seen the hundreds of thousands of people that are living in poverty through no fault of their own, but being forced out because of war circumstances. I've been to other areas with the Red Cross, to the deserts of Egypt, where I've seen Christians persecuted because of their faith, living in rubbish tips and living off the filth that comes out of the city just to survive. And when you see these things, they have a profound effect on you, and you realise that you need to do something with the gifts that you have. And in my case, I like to use those gifts to be able to support those people in return.
Yeah. So for you, the driving factor now, like how old am I asked? How old you are, Pat? Now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm 54 years old, so I'm I went from being the youngest person in what I was doing at the age of 18, doing ultra marathons, through to these days, being one of the old guys. And I hate the term when they say legend, because that just means that you're an old guy.
Oh no! Shoot, is that real? No, I don't think so. You can be a legend at 25, and you were a legend at 25.
No,
but that's a hugely long career too, to keep up that passion and drive. But I so agree with you. One of the things that keeps me going is the fact that the older I get, because I'm not far behind you now, I'm 48, and the things, I'm realising how short life is. When you're 20-something, you sort of, life will go on forever, and I'll be young forever, and it's all great. And this year, when my mum got really ill, and she was the rock of my entire life, really. She'd been the one consistent thing through, all the dramas of my life, and there've been many. She was the foundational stone, if you like, and when she nearly very close to death, that shook my world completely, and it made me look at the whole, what have I got left? What time have I got left on this planet? What time have my family got left? And it does make you be grateful so much for the little things, Now I'm grateful for the special moments when I see my mum standing next to my dad in the kitchen making a sandwich, something completely banal, if you like, but it changes your perspective on what is important in the world and in life, and what I want to do and impact in this world. And the impact that you have had in this world is huge, and I want to have a legacy like that, and I think a lot of people out there listening do it as well.
Well, people say, why do you run? You must be a lunatic running such long distances, and what's to prove anyway. But the bottom line is, it's not until that privilege is taken away from us and somebody's confined to a wheelchair, or they're elderly and they can't run, they can't do it anymore. They might get a knee injury, a hip injury, an ankle injury, whatever, and they can't do it anymore. And then they would swap everything that they have for that same privilege. And it's just about putting yourself in those shoes in advance and thinking to yourself, you're absolutely right. One of these days I will be old, and I still want to be, I still work out at the gym all the time, because I want to be able to not lift the greatest weights in the world, but I want to be able to put the groceries on the top shelf of the kitchen. I want to be able to carry the groceries up the stairs. I want to be able to be available to carry my grandkids if I ever have any. I want to have the opportunity to be able to play and swim and jump and run and laugh and all of these things. And if anybody thinks that's an overexpression of life itself, go to a nursing home or go to some of these places or go to some of these hospitals and walk around these places where people are so restricted and they just resign themselves to the fact that that's going to be their lot in their life. And then use the analogy of running, where we set goals and we achieve those goals because those goals are the sum total of all the training that we've done. And life itself, in our older years, is the sum total of everything that we've done prior to that. So if we've lived a healthy life, if we've watched what we eat, if we didn't drink in excess, we haven't binged on drugs in excess, we haven't abused ourselves too much, then there's a good chance that we'll have a good life in our older years. And hopefully, be able to live a good, healthy life right up to the moment that we just drop off the perch, and then we've had the most out of this life. But I could think of nothing worse than lying in a nursing home for 20 years waiting to die, and I just want to make sure that I encourage your listeners, and I do this myself by living the example, is that I stay as active as I possibly can all the way through those years. And if I can't run, well, I'll ride a bike. And if I can't ride a bike, well, I'll kayak. And if I can't do that, I'll try and swim. And if I can't do that, well, I will walk or roller skate or whatever.
You'll find something.
I'll find something to stay moving and stay active and make this life count. And it's all about the quality of life that we all want, but we tend to think, that only happens to old people. Well, you know what? You get old a lot faster if you don't do it, and you get older when you're young if you don't do it.
And I think having that attitude of I can abuse my body because I'm young and I can get away with it, just spending this year with Mum completely incapacitated and bringing her back from that, and the amount of work it's taken me to get her to walk 50 metres on a parallel bars, backwards and forwards. It's taken 10 months to get to that point, and so you should never take for granted. And the older you get, the more you have to train, not the less. The more you have to be in rehabilitation, mobility training, injury prevention, muscle retention, muscle building, all of those things. You have to actually spend more time, not less time. People think, they get old and I can just cruise now.
No. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because, we get muscle wastage, and so our vitamin intake, our protein intake needs to be upped rather than a lot of the older people, they don't feel like eating much. And so next thing you see is they lose their strength because their muscles are wasting away.
Yep.
And so it's most important that they, I find the quickest sign to anybody being unhealthy is when they lose their appetite. So if they've got a good, healthy appetite and they're moving and they're staying active, then and they're, well, yourself, we have strong bones because we do impact exercise.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it's most important that people continue to walk, they continue to, if they can, to run, they continue to do impact exercise, and that means lifting weights as well.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be, 60 kilo chin-ups or it doesn't have to be, enormous weights, but related to something that's useful in your life. So if you're going to carry the groceries and groceries are going to weigh 10 kilos, then make sure that you're regularly lifting 10 kilogram weights. And it's just as simple as that. It's about taking your sport or whatever it is that you're doing into every aspect of your life, and the philosophy with it as well, because that keeps you mentally active and alert as well.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is the again, having dealt this whole year with neurological problems and doing a lot of study about neurology and dementia and Alzheimer's and all of those horrible things, and how much we can actually help ourselves as we age by keeping that learning process going. So the older we get, we need to spend more time stretching our brain muscle and our physical muscle, if you like. And actually it takes more work to be old than it does to be young.
Yeah.
We have to be more and more diligent, and we have to spend more time. And I think as an athlete, I've gone through different phases too, where I've known, in my 20s to my 30s, I needed to concentrate on this, and on my 30s to my 40s, I needed another. And as my 40s to my 50s, now I'm concentrating on muscle retention. I'm doing my mobility. I'm trying to get good range of movement. I'm watching my posture. I'm, all of those things that start to creep in. So each decade has a new set of problems, basically, and we can counteract that with good food, good nutrition, and always having an attitude of learning, of gratitude, of being glad that we're alive. And people who listen to this podcast, those are the types of people who are willing to learn and discover and challenge themselves, and they'll do all right. But unfortunately, many of the people you see in our world just don't. They get, especially the older ones, they sort of, get to a point where they give up.
Yeah, and it's most important not to do that. It's most important to stay focused. So.
Yeah. Pat, I just, we're going to wrap up shortly, but, I wanted to give you a bit of a platform now just to, give me 5 minutes of your experience? What is the most important experience that you've taken away from your years as an ultramarathon runner? What is the most important messages that you want people out there who are listening to hear?
Well, Lisa, we hear it time and time again how important it is to set goals. And while ever we have something to aim for, just as I said with the Middle East peace run that I did, while ever good men gather under the veil of hope, while ever good men gather under the veil of peace, there is hope in the world, and without hope there is nothing. So we have to have hope, and in order to have hope, you have to have something to aim for, whether that be peace on earth, or whether that be trying to get the things in life that you've always strived for. It might be a nice home, a car, a job, or whatever it is that you want, a relationship. But it's about setting those goals and having those goals. And one of the things I've found in the past is the more clearly defined that we look at something that we want, the closer it is to achieving it. And this is why I still use paper maps whenever I set my goals for a country that I'm going to run in or run through. In fact, I'm in my lounge room at the moment and I'm looking at a wall that's got a big map of Cuba on the other side of the wall from me. And I'm looking at that because my goal is later on this year that I want to run the length of Cuba. Cuba is opening up to the world, and I want to do that. Now, the logistics involved in all of that, trying to get government approvals, trying to get police escorts through some parts of the busy areas of that place, and trying to just financially get over to that country and take a crew and a film crew with me is enormous. But as I analyse each one of these problems, then I start to think about solutions for each one of those problems. And as I do that, it becomes closer and closer to me. And then when I actually find myself over in one of these countries that I'm going to run, when the going gets tough, I reflect on all the obstacles I overcame just to take the first step. And that's the thing that makes life worthwhile. It's about the planning that goes in behind the scenes. That gives us the courage and the determination to achieve our goals.
Because that's it. Like you say, when you're doing these expeditions, what people don't realise is that usually you're a one-man band for starters, and then you have to convince everybody to come along on this journey with you, the financiers, the sponsors, the film crews, the support crews, and you've got to impart, so you become a leader of people, you learn to impart your passion. And by the time you get to, remember, some of the things I've done, you get to the start line and you actually look exhausted before you've even taken the first step. And then you're very right, you don't give up because you've gone through so much already to get there. But, you're 54 now, you're heading across Cuba and you're racing against another one of our colleagues, is that right?
Yeah, my goal is to race against Charlie Engle. Charlie did the run across the Sahara.
Yeah,
he's
amazing.
A great ultramarathon runner, and he did a fantastic film that people can Google and have a look at called Racing the Sahara.
Yeah.
And they've got Matt Damon doing the voiceover for that, so he's very well connected with Hollywood and with the right people there. So I figure if I race against him over there, or the two of us run this run together, whatever way we end up doing it, we'll be able to get the messages out to a bigger audience. So that's the plan, and the fact that America is now opening its eyes to Cuba and is now allowing its citizens to travel to there is really making a big difference. So I think Cuba will become a tourism powerhouse for the future. But while it's still a little bit unknown, I want to go there, and I want to go there now. So the way it's panned out was I did the pole-to-pole run, which took in 14 different countries in 2011 through to January of 2012. Then 2013, I did the run in Vietnam, the length of Vietnam. Then 2014, 15, in between there, I did the Middle East peace run, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine.
Wow.
And then just last year, I did the length of India. So basically what I'm thinking about these days is if each year I could pick a country and run the length of that country, then one, I'd be able to advertise that place for tourism and for trade through opening up the interior to a worldwide audience through my footsteps. But secondly, it'd be very gratifying for me to be able to travel to a different country each year and to be able to do this. And it's my way of, getting overseas trip cheap, so
well,
so I'll give
cheapest
that a crack
relative
anyway.
there, Pat. Are you working outside of this, or is this like a total encompassing thing, like with all your media, your speaking, your book writing, is
Well,
that your full-time sort of thing now?
Well, it should be, but yeah, I'm still doing other stuff. So sometimes
You got to pay the bills, eh?
I'll be on the tools on the building site, helping out there, anything from a labouring capacity through to whatever. Other times I'll be doing some government liaison work down in Parliament House in Canberra between industry and government, meeting with ministers and setting up things along those lines. And then
Wow.
on other occasions, it's whatever else after that. I basically see myself as just having a need to stay busy, but also, you have to make ends meet in the meantime.
Yeah. Hey, look, Pat, I really hope that you and I get to do something stupid together. I don't want to actually run against you because, mate, I'm never ever going to reach those levels or be able to keep up with you anymore. But what I would like to do with you is some sort of a project that is in a leadership role and is in talking to young people and doing something. I don't know, but I've got to get you over to New Zealand at some stage.
I would absolutely love that. I speak at a lot of universities and schools. We do, just as you've done many times, motivational talks, and we do a lot. We do a lot to help a lot of youth that have lost their way through drugs. There's a program over here in Australia at a number of the schools called The Men That We Need, and it's basically to teach high school boys, respect for women, and it's most important. In fact, that last one that I did in India was to raise funds for girls' education, and I was at a boys' school, and one of the boys put his hands up and said, why are you raising money for girls and not boys? And I said, well, because we all have mothers, and we all love our mothers. And the thing is, if our mothers are educated, then we will be educated because they're the first educators of the family.
Wow,
and if the family's educated, the country will be educated. So for that reason, my goal is to try and support women in this country, which was India, to try and make sure they get a chance at an education. So, but right around the globe, there is a need for people in places. So I'd love to do further work with you. At least, in fact, we should do one of these podcasts one time and make it specifically a conversation about maybe about sponsorship, or we could touch on a couple of different subjects, because everybody hears what we do as far as travelling overseas and getting film crews together, but very few of them know the struggle that we've gone through, but then also the knowledge that we can impart towards other people to be able to get sponsors and to be able to do it the right way.
Absolutely, and also just what I'm really big for me, is I'm probably not going to be doing a heck of a lot of long distance running anymore, but I'm really loving the coaching. I mean, I'm loving being able to have an impact on so many more lives through technology. For the example, this podcast, and now I've got an online training platform, and I'm setting up a Mindset Academy, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and where it's all about all the skills that you learn for life that are so important to develop: the ability to focus, the ability to push through barriers, pain barriers, physical barriers, mental barriers, to develop confidence. All of these things that I think are really important for every person, no matter where they're standing in life. So perhaps we can do something with that, because using your media platform, you've got a huge platform, that people that follow you, community that follow you. I've got a little one over here. We can reach and we can impact bigger audiences than, just when you have one-on-ones. And this is why these sort of things like podcasts are just brilliant. They impact. Who knows who's out there listening today who will take some gems of wisdom away from Pat Farmer, and that will help them on their journey.
Yeah, absolutely, Lucy. Well, let's make it happen. I'm more than happy to work with you in any capacity, anywhere in the world. So let's make something happen, and let's do something on a regular basis.
Sounds absolutely brilliant, Pat. Hey, I'll let you go now. I've got to go and get my mum and take her out for dinner.
I wish, please give her a kiss for me and a cuddle for me, and wish you all the best with her. I know how precious mums are, and mine's still alive, and I see her every Thursday, and I'd be nothing without her. She's fantastic, so I know how important they are.
They are, and say hi to your beautiful wife too.
Yeah, you bet. Well,
Yeah.
if you're ever in Sydney, please please catch up with us, hey?
I'm coming in April, so I will let you know. But
All right, yeah, definitely. Well, we live bring your swimmers with you. We live in just opposite the beach. So, in fact, if we're on Skype pictures, you'd see out from my window the beach. And I've got all the windows open at the moment because it's roasting hot, and
fantastic.
unfortunately, you would have heard the planes and the trucks and everything else outside as well. But nevertheless, it's a cracker of a day.
Hey, look, it's been a real privilege. I hope everybody out there in listening land has learned something today. It's been an honour to have one of the greatest athletes, I think, of all time on my show, on my little podcast. Thanks very much, Pat.
My pleasure. Thanks, Lise. Bye-bye.